And hello, everybody. So good to see some familiar faces out there. Thank you to all of you who have taken time out of your busy schedules to come and join us today to um, help you and your loved ones improve your balance for your everyday life. So, this webinar is all about building stability, confidence, and independence so that you can maintain your freedom of movement and stay connected to all of the activities and the people that you love. Today, we're going to cover several different things. So, our first concept is, why does balance even matter? And then we'll go over some of the common reasons that people do fall, how the body is supposed to be creating stability, including the importance of our feet, our hip muscles, our core, and our postural stabilizers. And then we're going to actually take it off of our chair. Well, we'll start with the seated exercises. So just some simple things that you can do if you're not able to get up from your chair. And then we'll take it up off of our chair and do some simple standing exercises. So then we're going to end today with just some small daily habits that will help to improve your balance over time. But today is not about perfection or your athletic ability. Just so you know, balance is something that can improve at any age, but it really takes consistent practice. So even just little bits of consistent practice can really help, no matter where you are in your age span. So let's go to the next one. My name is Emily Yenor. Thank you, Jessica, for the nice introduction. So, I'm a physical therapist up in the Milwaukee, Wisconsin area. I own a private practice where I help people move better so that they can feel better and then ultimately live their lives better. But my work over the past 3 decades has been focused on helping people reconnect with the foundation of their body, especially the feet. I'm a foot specialist and a muscle specialist. So I help my clients locate their postural asymmetries, movement pattern dysfunctions, and we really hone in on helping them find stability in their muscle system where they may not have the stability that they once had. So, but I'm especially passionate about helping people move with greater ease and confidence rather than fear. And I learned the hard way of the importance of our feet this past week when I was going up our stairs in slippery socks and I kicked the step with my big toe. And so now I am fully aware of, I knew of it scientifically and just with seeing my clients, but realize what happens when you have a really sore big toe and how that impacts your overall function, your walking. I was compensating and had to practice what I preach this past week, but luckily I'm feeling a lot better. So we're going to get into some foot exercises today too. So and if there will be a Q&A at the end of our webinar if anybody has questions. Okay, so balance is very important because falls are so common, but they can be preventable. So 1 in 4 adults over the age of 65 actually falls each year, which is pretty staggering. Yes, pun intended, but I'm going to help you so that you don't stagger. So falls are a leading cause of injury among older adults. We're going to kind of go over some of those most common injuries that can occur. But the fear of falling often leads to less movement overall, and then less movement will lead to decreased mobility, which then results in decreased strength and stability over time. So, um, there's a cycle that happens when we fall. So where whenever there's fear, again, there's less movement, which leads to weakness, which goes to poorer balance, and then your fall risk actually increases as well. So that's why we are spending time today to talk about how we can help improve our balance from the ground up. So, some common causes of falls are muscle weakness, reduced foot strength and sensation. So, if you are closed into big, bulky shoes and you can't feel the ground underneath you, or you have lack of sensation in your feet because of things like neuropathy or just scar tissue or if your feet have become sensitive or actually desensitized over the years from being inside of all of this protection, you're really missing out on information that would help you stay balanced. Poor posture is a huge precursor for falls. So if you have a forward head, forward shoulder positioning, which is very common as the aging process continues, that forces that center of gravity to come too far forward, which can increase the fall risk. Limited hip mobility is another big one. So the more the more mobile you are with all hip motions, the better your balance reactions will be. And then everybody knows about the core. The core muscles are those muscles that are in the center of our body. So it's really everywhere from under the chin to below the buttocks. That's basically your core. But when the core is unstable, that will also cause balance difficulties. The other things that aren't always as well recognized are when vision changes happen that can impact people's ability to stay upright, and that can cause falls if you can't see something in your way. Another cause of falls are medication side effects. And then we also have environmental hazards. If there are rugs or things on the floor that get in your way, or even small dogs or cats that can be hazardous and cause falls. And then again, like I mentioned earlier, if you've had a fall before and your confidence is less, or if you just know that you're a little weaker, that can also increase your fear of falling, which then can lead to a fall. So, luckily today, we are going to concentrate on this first box. The things that we're going to go over today will really help improve everything in that box. I actually teach a balance class on Wednesdays at a local fitness center, which is one of the highlights of my week. And every week when we're in class together, we do visual exercises. And so we're not going to do those together today, but um, making making time and committing to doing some vision exercises and just looking both ways with your eyes open and closed, even while you're seated, can make a huge difference in improving your balance reactions. Um, Obviously, I'm not going to have much to do with the medication side effects here today, but if your strength can improve, then your confidence can improve too. So we're mostly targeting everything on this slide. And there is a chance that if your health improves, maybe you don't need some of the medication. So obviously, that's a choice that you and your doctor can make. But um, working on your balance has a lot of positive effects. Okay, there we go. Nope, I'm going the wrong way. There we go. Common injuries from falls are hip fractures. So that can be really, really detrimental to our function, and sometimes it's very difficult to recover from not just the hip fracture, but the surgery needed or the rest time needed to heal from that hip fracture. Wrist fractures are another common one as you try to brace your fall, which then also can lead to shoulder injuries. If you end up falling and hitting your head either on furniture or the floor, this can lead to head injuries or concussions. And then overall loss of confidence and independence can be one of the most that's a kind of an emotional impact that falls can create. So often the fear and hesitation after a fall can affect your quality of life just as much as the physical injury. So let's talk about what creates balance. Balance is a dynamic, functional ability that all of our bodies have, but it really depends on a number of things. So we're looking at strength, stability, coordination, being able to move both sides of your body and different body parts and systems all together is all part of balance. Having that input from our environment through our sensory system, especially through our feet, is so important. And then our breathing is also affecting our balance. And you might ask, why is that? So if you're breathing with the main muscle of breathing is our diaphragm muscle, and that sits right underneath your ribs. And when you're breathing with your diaphragm, you're going to expand the belly and the ribs on the lower sides of the ribs as you intake that air. If you have weakness in your diaphragm, you may end up using your accessory breathing muscles, which are located in your neck and upper body. And so, if those become tight from overusing, you may then have some of the postural asymmetries that we talked about earlier with the forward head, forward shoulder that can force your center of gravity a little bit more forward, making it more likely for you to fall. So, that breathing, staying relaxed in your breathing and breathing properly through your diaphragm is going to help with those balance reactions. And then just being aware of where your body is in space. We call this sense proprioception. Knowing where your body is in space is going to allow those balance reactions to happen most naturally. So our base of support is our body's foundation. So our feet really do create our foundation since they're the part of our body that's connected to the ground. So the wider your stance, the more stability you'll have. The more narrow your feet are positioned, it's going to be more challenging. So in my class, again, we do all sorts of different foot positions. So I want you to, as you're sitting in your chair, just notice when you're sitting with a wide stance, feel your feet on the ground and then just press into the floor and you're going to feel more stable there. And then if you bring your feet together so that they touch, there, if you were standing in this position, there's going to be more of a challenge. So just bring your feet together, see how that feels even just while you're sitting. A split stance is going to be when one foot is in front of the other. So imagine that you were standing on railroad tracks. And so one foot is in front and the other is in the back, but they're still within the width of your hip distance apart. And then you could also have your feet in what we call a tandem stance, which is going to also be more challenging with one foot right in front of the other. The front heel touches the back toes. And those positions are definitely more challenging to the balance. But the most challenging is to be on one leg. So being in that single limb support position is going to be the highest challenge. And then if you are, while we're at it, if you're on one leg and the whole foot is touching the ground, that's going to be better. That's going to be more stable. If you rise up onto the ball of your foot on one leg, that's probably the most challenging base of support that you can work from. So just see how those feel in your seated positions. Okay, so I mentioned before, I'm a foot specialist. I know that sounds a little strange, but after studying the body and working with the body for as long as I have, I've really um, always just been fascinated by the feet, but I've really come to understand the importance that if the feet aren't doing what they were designed to do, other body parts will have to compensate, and often they become overused, and those sweet little feet are just hanging out down low, not doing what they were supposed to. But strong, responsive feet help us to sense the ground and feel our surroundings. They help us adapt to the changing surfaces underneath our feet, especially when we're walking. And they also help to maintain our posture. So there's a lot of musculature. Even though our foot is a relatively small part of our body, the I think there are 33 joints in the feet, and so many muscles that come from the foot all the way up into that calf area, and making sure that all of those are working well will help to stabilize the body in our hips and spine. So the hips and spine and feet are all communicating constantly. So one of the other things that's not on the slide here is just our footwear. And if you, again, I mentioned it a little earlier, but if your feet are stuck inside of a shoe that's got so much cushioning that doesn't allow you to feel the ground, it can really decrease your body's ability to it can decrease the balance reactions through the whole body. So really having that sensation at the feet to know where you are in space makes a big, big difference. So that's one of the things that I try to help my clients make a transition from a big bulky shoe to something a little bit more something with a thinner sole so that that information can be received by the sensory system. So stability starts both below and above. So the key balance muscles that we're going to be focusing on together today are in the feet and ankles, in our gluteus muscles and hip muscles, the deep core muscles, and then our upper back and scapular stabilizers. So when I mentioned before that when the postural positioning is forward, that's going to throw off our balance. But when the body is upright and you're standing firmly planted on the ground, your feet will communicate with the hips. If they're in the right position, they will communicate also correctly with the torso and head. And believe it or not, it's a whole balance is a whole body system. So whole body um, experience. So we are going to make a transition to movement. So we're going to explore some gentle movements that help wake up your systems involved in balance. But just a couple of safety reminders for this portion. Make sure that you're moving at your own pace, move nice and slowly, breathe naturally. And then for these first 8 exercises, we'll stay seated. And for the next slide, we're going to do some standing balance exercises for those of you who would like to try that with me. For that, if you would like to stand near something that can give you support, either a countertop or the chair that you're sitting in now, if you just stand behind the chair, then, or you can have the chair to your side, that would be another way to make this work for you. The other thing is if I recommend that we do something together that just is not within your body's comfort zone, feel free to skip anything. And if you're moving through range of motion, be sure to stay within a pain-free range of motion. No forcing yourself into pain. So, and also smaller movement is totally fine. If you want to just do half of the range of motion, that's totally fine. And then also make sure that if you need to take a rest break, that you do that as well. So I'm going to change my camera angle so that you can see me a little differently. And I'm on a rolling stool, but if you are on a chair with armrests or without armrests, that's fine too. So the first exercise we're going to do is called foot grounding. Actually, I'm going to just go over this slide and then I'll turn this slide share off, actually. So we're going to do foot grounding together. We're going to do toe lifts and presses. We'll do heel raises, marching, weight shift exercise, a seated reach, and then opposite hand to knee press, and then scapular retraction. So we're going to start with both feet on the ground. And we're going to sit with our hips slightly at the front of the chair if you can. And we're going to have just a little bit of an arch in our low back. So we're sitting tall. We're going to have our feet placed firmly on the ground. And then we're just gently going to press your feet into the floor. And you'll feel this engaging in your quad muscles. So just feel the bottoms of your feet against the floor. If you're barefoot or in shoes, that's okay too. We're just going to notice the heel of our foot. Notice the ball of your foot. Notice the toes, if they're crunched or spread. And then just breathe in and out. So this foot grounding exercise will build awareness of your lower body, and it starts to activate those foot muscles. And this carries over into our daily function as it helps us to feel stable while we're sitting or when we're standing up and walking. So just take one more deep breath into your belly and then let it go. The next thing we're going to do is called toe lifts and presses. So all we're going to do is, can you see my feet? Can you see my feet? I know it's a little far away, but what we're going to do is we're going to lift our toes, but keep the balls of your feet down, and then lower your toes. And then take that big toe and press both of your big toes down gently into the floor. And then alternate that several times. So just lift your toes up and then lower the toes down and press your big toe down gently. And notice what you're feeling in your foot. You might feel this in the arches of your feet. Try one more time. Lift the toes up, lower the toes down, and then press the big toe down gently. So this helps us build foot strength and neural activation in the feet, which carries over into improving our foot control for walking, going up and down stairs, and then preventing the toe from catching or shuffling on the floor. So now while we're still seated, we're going to move into heel raises. So we are going to activate those calf muscles behind the lower legs. We're just going to lift our heels slowly up and then lower back down with control. And we're just going to go up and down, nice and gently, just with our feet in a neutral position. So this helps with ankle stability. It's going to help with our walking endurance, the circulation in our lower body. And then this is what helps us to push off during the walking cycle. They say that the calf is like the body's second heart. So the heart muscle pumps our blood, so does the calf muscle. So it's pretty far away from the heart, and it's able to pump the blood from our lower body and the lymphatic fluid. So this is a really great exercise to do while you're seated if you have foot swelling or lower body swelling. Okay, next one we're going to do is marching. So while we're seated, if you have arm rests, you can rest your hands on the armrest, but if you can get to the edge of your seat and not use your arms, that's even more ideal. So we're going to be building strength in our hip flexors with this and starting to engage our core muscles. So we're just going to lift one knee up toward the ceiling and stay tall with your upper body, and then lower that back down. Stay within your comfortable range. Alternate and try the other leg and back down. And just alternate back and forth, staying tall. This motion helps us to get in and out of our bed or our car, helps us to climb the stairs, and then walk safely. Lots of good functions with this mobility here. And if you want to, you can march and hold it for 3 to 5 seconds. Stay tall, keep breathing, try the other leg. And relax. Excellent. Next, we're going to move into something called weight shifting. I'm going to face you so you can see me here. We are going to basically just be shifting our weight from hip to hip, so from one sit bone to the other. So we're just going to shift our body to one direction. And you want to keep your shoulders level with the horizon, come back to neutral. You can keep your arms down. I'm just showing you what this looks like. So we're side shifting over to the other side, come back to neutral. So we're just going back and forth, staying tall as you bend. We're not collapsing to the side and doing a side bend. We're just shifting our weight over to one hip and then the other, stopping in the center. So we're relaxed in our shoulders. This is going to help bring our awareness to our midline, and it starts to build pelvic control. And this helps for reaching and turning, repositioning in your chair, and transferring safely. And then come back to center. Now we're going to move into a seated reach. So while we're seated, we're just going to reach one arm forward and then relax back down. And then try the other side, forward and down. And then try that again. This time we're going to lean forward and reach. So hinging at your hips, other side. So this starts to challenge our dynamic seated balance, trunk stability, and this will carry over into helping us reach into our cabinets to do some dressing activities, other household tasks. Now let's try to reach diagonally. So reach across your body and back to neutral. And across your body, back to neutral, staying within our pain-free ranges. How about one more each side? And then come back to meet in center. The next thing we're going to do is our opposite hand to knee press. So let's take one hand, reach it across to the opposite knee, and you're just going to press your arm down into your thigh. And then release. Stay there, but just release the pressure. And then press again. Feel this in your tummy. You might feel this underneath your arm as well, but this is a core activation exercise. Super simple to do while you're seated. And release. Just press and release at your pace, breathing as you go. And then come back to center. Let's try that on the other side. So whatever hand you had first, let's switch to the opposite side. And we're just going to press down into our thigh and release. So this is working our core. This is getting cross-body coordination. So this helps build our core stability for carrying things, getting up from the chair safely, and just maintaining your posture and standing. And then our final seated balance exercise is going to be for scapular retraction. So our shoulder blades behind our rib cage are one of the most important upper body components of our balance reactions. So what we're going to do is we're just going to gently draw our shoulder blades back and down. So it's the opposite of a shoulder shrug. Most of us have our shoulders up by our ears. So we're going to drop our shoulders down and back. And then release. Good. Go down and back again. And then release. So you're opening your chest as you draw those shoulders back up and down. So this helps with our upright posture, our breathing, and it reduces that forward hunching while we walk. And take one more breath. And then release. So those are our balance exercises, just sitting. If you did nothing else than those today, you would have already done your body a really good service. But if you are able, let's have you move into a standing position. And if you would like to have a little bit of support for you nearby, let's hold a chair. So I'm going to move my rolling stool away. Might adjust this just a little tiny bit. And then here is my chair. Okay. So I'll give you another little bit of time to get into position. So our first exercise, we're going to just be facing the back of the chair for support. This is going to be called the supported standing alignment exercise. So if you don't need to hold on to the chair, you don't have to, but it's right here in case you need it. So we're going to stand with our feet about hip distance apart. We're going to keep our knees soft. You don't want to lock your knees, so keep soft knees and stand tall with your upper body. Feel your weight evenly distributed between your right foot and your left foot. Or notice if you're not evenly distributed. That might indicate that you have some imbalances or some asymmetries going on. But when we're doing this and just standing, we're noticing where we are in space. This will help us stand for longer periods of time with better posture and less fatigue. So I like to call our alignment points the 5 H's. So this is the head, the heart, the hips, and the heels, and our hands. So while we're in this position, ideally our hands would be right next to our sides with our middle fingers in line with our pants side seams. And everything would be stacked. Head is on top of heart, heart is on top of hips, and hips are on top of heels. So now we're going to move into standing weight shifts. So I'm going to come to the side so you can see me here. I'm going to hold the chair. For those of you who need a chair support, feel free to hold. For those of you that don't, you can go without it. But all we're going to do is just shift back and forth, leaning into one foot, coming back to center, and then lean into the other foot and back to center. So our feet are about hip distance apart. We're just staying smooth and controlled with our motions. So this is going to help build lateral stability or side stability for balance and walking, especially walking on uneven surfaces. And then this one also carries over to changing directions safely when you're standing and walking. So just feel how that feels. Is it harder to stay relaxed and soft in your knee as you reach over to that one side? Do you notice a difference between your right side and your left side? Just notice what you feel and stay within your pain-free ranges. And then come back to neutral. Our next exercise is the heel to toe stance. So this is what I was referring to before. It's another way to challenge our balance with our base of support. So we're gonna either, if you would like to, there's a couple different variations. You can do a staggered stance where your legs are in line with your hips, still almost like on the train tracks. Or if you want to try tandem, the feet are in one line. So imagine that you have a balance beam that you're standing on and your feet are on that. And if you can go without the chair and try to challenge your balance with one foot in front of the other, see what you can do there. Just make sure you're breathing and staying relaxed in your shoulders. And then if you want to make it even more challenging, move your feet together so that you can feel the front heel with the back toes. And just notice what you feel there. Hold the chair if you need to. And then relax your feet, come back to a neutral position. And then let's try that with the other foot in front. So let's start with our staggered stance on train tracks. See how that feels. And then for those of you that want a little more challenge, you can do your standing tandem stance or split stance. And then if you want another little challenge, you can bring the feet closer together. This narrows our base of support even more. And then see how that feels. Excellent. And then take the legs back to a hip distance apart. So that really helps to work. In some cases, when we're walking, we have to kind of walk with more of a narrow gait. So that exercise helps to practice the ability to do that. Going down hallways, stepping accurately, that's going to build strength for all of that. Our next exercise is a mini march. So again, holding the chair if you need to. I feel like when you're sideways, it allows you to just have a little bit more range of motion. If you're facing this way, chances are you're going to be bending forward. If you need to hold with both hands, sometimes going in between two chairs is another way to give you a little bit more stability, but do what you can, make sure that you're safe. We're going to just lift one foot slightly and then set your leg back down and then shift and do the other one. Lift slightly, come back down, and then alternate back and forth. Keep your upper body nice and tall. Keep the 5 H's in line. So the head is over the heart is over the hips are over the heels. This is another thing, another activity that will help with preparing us for those single leg activities. And while we're walking, sometimes there's a part of our walking phase where we're only on one leg. So this will help with our confidence with walking. This exercise helps with stair climbing, stability, and also being able to step over objects on the floor. And relax down. Next, we're going to move into our sit to stand exercise. So I'm going to bring my chair back this way so you can see me. And what we're going to do is we're going to come in front of the chair. We're going to sit back down in our chair and we're going to come right to the edge of the chair. So I've got my feet a little wider than hip distance apart to give me a little bit more base of support. And what we're going to try to do is hinge forward at your hips to bring your nose over your toes. So let's try that a couple times, just coming forward. And then this is going to build our functional leg strength. Go back to our seated foot grounding, really feel those feet on the ground. And then when you're ready, bring your nose over your toes until your hips come up and then squeeze your buttock muscles to come up. And then we're going to go do that same thing on the way back down. So we're going to reach our hips back toward the chair, hinging forward, bringing nose over toes, and then come back up. So let's try that again. So hinge forward, nose over toes, squeeze your butt to come up, and then go nose over toes, feel for that chair behind you, and sit back down. One more time, come up and squeeze up, and then reach back. Excellent. Let's just take a little break. This one is a really great one for getting out of the chair, rising up and down from a toilet, getting in and out of your car, and then also rising up out of bed more independently. So a really helpful one to practice several times a day if you can. So now we're going to go back again to the back of the chair, or standing without the chair is fine too, like I said. So we're going to hold the chair. We're going to extend one leg behind your body gently. Keep your torso upright. Let's not bend forward as the leg goes back. We're just going to reach that leg back, bring it back underneath you, and then alternate sides. Reaching back, pointing your toe on the ground if you need stability. If you want to kick your leg freely and you have that mobility, feel free to do that. If you want to take hands off of the chair, challenge yourself with what feels good and comfortable to you. So we're working glute strength, which are our buttock muscles, some of the largest muscles in our body. This is going to help with our walking stability, taking longer strides, and it'll help with our standing endurance. And then rest. Now we're going to do side leg lifts. So we're just going to kick one leg out to the side. If you need a modification, we just tap the toe out to the side and then bring the foot back underneath you. Tap the toe, or we can lift the leg all the way up. But we're staying upright with our body. We're not leaning over the chair. That's a different exercise. So we're just kicking out and back in. And for today's purposes, I'm just teaching the exercises. You can do what feels good to you. If you want to try a set of 10 and see how that feels, or maybe you can only do 5 or 6, that's fine too. Do what you can do. That was close to 10. Now I'm going to move my chair this way, and then we're going to try that same thing on the other leg. So get yourself situated. You can just turn around where you are, but since I'm on camera here, I'm going to show you. So we're either tapping the toe out to the side or we're kicking it out to the side. And notice again, is it harder to stand on one leg than the other? Do you feel like your range of motion is about the same or is it different? Does one knee lock more than the other? This one is definitely going to help us for sidestepping. Good, stop and rest. Stepping in and out of the shower or the car. So once again, very important. And not only does it do that, but when we're walking, the muscles that we just worked are very important with keeping you on that one leg and keeping you upright and not letting your hip dip. So very important for our walking. And then our last leg standing balance exercise is going to be the supported single leg balance. So we can hold the chair if you need to. We're going to just lift one foot slightly up and hold that in the air. So we're just standing on one foot and then set that leg back down. Try the other leg. And finding a focal point in front of you where your eyes can focus. We want to try not to look down. I probably should have said that when I did the first standing balance exercise, but never too late to teach you some tips. So just alternate back and forth. If you can do this without the chair and just maintain your upright balance with one foot on the floor, one foot raised up. See how that feels. And then come back to neutral. Excellent. So that one helps with our balance functions, our confidence, our ankle stability. And let's go back here again. That one's going to help us with stepping over curbs, putting on our shoes and our pants, and just overall reducing our fall risk while walking. Some other things that we can do to encourage our balance reactions on a daily basis is to just walk regularly. That seems kind of simple, but that simple is best, I've found. Practicing your postural awareness and knowing where you are in space is definitely helpful. Strengthening your feet is a hugely important feature of keeping your balance reactions the best that they can possibly be. Improving your lighting at home, making sure that you don't have any dark spaces that you can then run into things or trip over things. And then also removing boxes and things on the floor. Even area rugs can be trip hazards for some people. So minimizing the risks that you might have in your own home, taking care of that. Wearing optimal footwear. So we kind of alluded to that earlier today. That's basically having a thinner soled shoe, but enough cushioning for your comfort. Some of my favorite shoes are ones that have a wider toe box, and I have a whole list of my preferred shoes. So I'll have my contact information at the end if you would like me to email you a copy of my favorite footwear recommendations. I would be happy to do that. But the most important thing really is to just keep moving consistently. So, the importance of consistency over intensity with working on our balance is that's a huge thing. So, small daily inputs matter more than the occasional big effort. So, little things go a long way. So on to our next slide. And just so you know, as I mentioned earlier, the body can adapt at any age. So our strength, our balance, our confidence, those things can all improve. But the first step is really just being aware of where your asymmetries might be. So a couple of other good resources. I have a book that's this month it's turning 1 year old. In my book, Magic in Motion, Foundations for Functional Fitness, one of my chapters is all about awareness of your body. So, and how that is important. We have to be aware to notice that there's a problem sometimes, and then we can go about making those changes either on our own or with a specialist's help. So the next slide is I'm really excited to be starting a new foot program in June. So this is going to be an online program all about restoring the foundation. It's called Restore Your Foundation, Free Your Feet, Reclaim Your Balance. So this 6-week program is going to include 6 Zoom lessons that will be live and recorded. And we will be working on foot mobility and strength, balance training. We'll be taking the exercises that we did today. We're going to be going way deeper on all of the foot components so that you can assess your own feet. And then you'll also be sent an exercise video on Thursdays of each week that correlates with the topic that we're discussing on the Tuesday Zoom. So then you'll have your own home exercise program to go along with the 6 weeks of foot range of motion strengthening, and increased understanding of how your asymmetries might be affecting your daily function. So I'm very excited about that program. That begins June 16th. If you have any interest in joining us, again, the next slide, I think I have my contact information. So um, I'm in Milwaukee, Brookfield, Wisconsin. I do offer a free consultation to anybody that's local that would like a little bit more specific help. But I'm so thankful for all of you for joining us today. If there are any questions that you have, we can try to go over those today. Or if there's anything that you want to ask me specifically, please feel free to reach out either via email, or you can find my website is listed here as well.